Okay, class, if you open up your Google Classroom, I have posted the new assignment. It is titled Anatomy Coloring Book. And here is the assignment. So you're going to learn about general long bone anatomy, which we've already covered, how bones grow, the axial versus the appendicular skeleton, which we've already discussed, and joint types, which we've already discussed. So the new terminology, or the new section for you, will be how bones grow. What I recommend is that you watch the video in the PowerPoint here, slide 17, which is bones and adaptation or growth. It is also termed endochondral ossification, which you will see here. Endochondral ossification. Endochondral means the endo of the cartilage. Chondral means cartilage. So at the end of the bone is where you find cartilage, where two bones meet. As a infant and as a what's the word I'm looking for? As a child in the womb, prior to birth, all of the bones are cartilage, and that's what you need to know. And as you age, the cartilage becomes ossified into bone, and all bones grow from the growth plate, which is at the end of the bones. So that's really important for you to understand. So what I want you to do is then look at the anatomy coloring book. Two things here. I'm first going to go back. I'm going to go to the endochondral ossification, or how bones grow page, which is, as you scroll down, right here. If you notice, this is the endochondral ossification coloring, anatomy coloring page. I will go over with you soon how this works, but if you look here, this is titled hyaline cartilage, and it has the subscript A on it. So anywhere where you see the subscript A, you're going to color that in, and that will tell you this is the hyaline cartilage area of the bone. What I want you to notice here is that this is broken up into segments. So here in the womb, this is the perichondrium, which is much like the periosteum, but it's cartilage instead of bone in the womb. So these are the stages about 8 weeks post-fertilization. So you notice this is titled post-fertilization. So this is in the womb, and this is the process of growth in the womb. And then as you go down here, it'll title it something different. Longitudinal growth of diaphysis at epiphyseal plates. This is mature bone growing. So this is after birth. And what you'll notice is the shaft starts to become ossified and more bone. And then up here is where you see your growth plates. This is where cartilage is. Okay, so the metaphysis is a little bit different than the epiphysis. And so that's for you to read. And so if you come up here, you're going to have to print this page out. Unfortunately, for some reason it copied upside down. It talks about bone development, if you can read that, and endochondral ossification. What is the periosteum bone versus endochondral bone? So you guys are going to learn about that stuff today. I'm going to go back now to the guide in terms of coloring, which is at the very beginning. This is the, again, Introduction to Coloring, Anatomy Coloring book. Don't worry about how the book is arranged or the coloring tools so much, but do read through the how the coloring system works if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and describe it to you. It's fairly simple. So if you look at the guide here on the next page, this is just giving you an example. The new name, so letter B, you're going to find letter B, which is the new name. We could call it whatever you want, whatever structure it is, okay? But whatever that structure might be, letter B, you're going to go find letter B over here and color it in. And then you're going to find letter C and color it in. And you're going to color the new name the same. So let's say you choose yellow for new name category B. You would color this yellow and then find the letter B over here and color it in. And so on and so forth. So for letter C, maybe you want to color that orange or red. Then you would make the name, color in the name red, and then come over here, find letter C, and color it in. What you may notice, if you follow down here, you might find the superscripts or subscripts. Superscripts just mean this is another example of D1. Sometimes, for example, these are glands, by the way. There's multiple glands in your body, so they're showing you that there's gland number 1 and gland number 2. You'll also see another gland up here. So there's multiple examples of D in this photo. So you would color all of these, the color pattern you choose for here. So if you chose red, then you would color D red, all 3 of these. Okay? And then there's D2, you would still color that red too. Sometimes D2 you might change your mind and color D2 a different color if you want. You can also do that if they have 2 separate names for D1, D2. So you could do D red, yellow, and then orange to point those out if you wanted to do that. If it only gives you D, then you would color it red. More importantly, down here, if you see this symbol, it says, do not color the name or any structure with this label. So when you see this, don't color it, leave it white. If you see this symbol, the star or asterisk, you're going to color it gray, and any structure with the label gray. And then if you see this symbol, I don't know if that's a 0 or a D behind the G, but you're going to color the name of the structure black. The name or structure black. And then this one, the color, you can color the name, but you may not see the structure. So they're telling you the structure's not on this page. And then if you see this symbol, it just simply means that you're looking at cellular level or microscopic level of the anatomy. So they'll put a microscope there if you're looking at microscopic anatomy, which in this class I don't think I have anything that's microscopic. We're learning all macroscopic anatomy. Hopefully that helps with this assignment. So what you're going to do is, as we scroll through this is review. You guys already know the planes and terms, so I'm not going to have you color this, but what I do want you to pay attention to is these are the anatomic planes. So if you look, it's just telling you this is the anterior or front, this is the posterior back, and this is a sagittal view. You can see down here, they're showing you a sagittal view cut in half, okay? So they've cut this right in the middle, so this is called a mid-sagittal view, and if you look, it says median section cut through the thorax or chest cavity. And we know, if we didn't see this diagram, we know this is the middle mid-sagittal view because here is the spine. And if you look at the other mid-sagittal view down below here, I'm sorry, the other sagittal view, but not a mid-sagittal view, this view is also a sagittal view, but it's not the middle because you don't see the rib cage, or I mean the spine, you only see the ribs. So this would be a right side of the body because this is the anterior or front, and this is the posterior. So we're looking at a sagittal view on the right side of the body, if that makes sense. And then if you come over here, the reason I'm teaching you this is because you have to learn to orient yourself when you're looking at diagrams, which is why we learn the planes and the anatomical terms of position, like superior, inferior, anterior, posterior, medial, lateral. So if you look at this diagram here, they're showing you what the view is. If you cut the body in half, you're looking at letter D from a side view. So this would be an inferior, a bird's eye view, I would say a snake's eye view because it's from the ground up instead of from the sky down. And you can orient yourself with the photo here. You have the posterior, which if you look here, this is actually the spine. Hard to tell, but this is the spine. Here's your liver, and they're telling you this. This is the anterior portion of the chest wall. These are your ribs here. And notice it's saying don't color this in. This is just for orientation purposes. Posterior aspect, and here's your spleen. So again, this is just to help you understand what you're looking at as you view this. They're not always going to give you this helpful drawing here. What they will do is show you this kind of anatomy drawing, and you have to orient yourself knowing that this is the anterior, this is the posterior, this is the liver. So we're looking at a bottom up view again, just like we were looking at a bottom up view earlier. Where were we? Oh, just here, excuse me. So a snake's eye view. And then here's another view, a frontal view. Okay, so this would be letter C, the frontal view. And here is a frontal view. You're looking at the brain with a cut section. Hopefully this all makes sense. So again, you don't need to color this page because it's all review for you, but I wanted you to be aware because this is going to help you moving forward. And then again, these are terms of position. This is all review. You should know them: cranial, anterior, posterior, medial, lateral, caudal, or inferior. Okay, and so then these are planes of movement, or I'm sorry, terms of direction. So you would color, we're not going to do this page either, cranial or superior. and then you would highlight or color this, and then color it the same color, letter A, up here as your words. Notice that you can go pretty quick with this once you know what you're coloring, so you don't have to be detailed and fill this whole thing in. If you just wanted to scribble this yellow and then scribble this yellow or run a yellow line through it, that's good enough for me. I am not looking for great artwork. I am looking for, when you get into detailed anatomy, making sure that you're detailing it correctly. So sometimes you're going to have to take your time, other times you're not. So don't make this assignment longer than it needs to be. More important, what I want you to know is how to orient yourself with a diagram, know what you're looking at, and the whole purpose of this anatomy coloring book is to orient you. That's why we learn the terms of positions and the planes of motion. So again, you're not going to color this page. Moving down, you are going to color this next page. Notice this reading here, the reading assignment, epiphysis, diaphysis, articular cartilage. You need to know what they are, what they function to do, and where they are located in the bone. So don't just skip past this and just do the coloring assignment. Make sure you read and you know what the epiphysis is, what its job and its function is, and where it's located on the anatomy coloring sheet. So here is the epiphysis, letter A. And if you look at letter A, you should find it in the diagram. And I am missing it right now. I will come back and find it in a minute. But the epiphysis is the end of the bone or the growth plate. So here's your epiphyseal line. And they're showing you letter A here, excuse me. So everything from here up is considered the epiphysis. This is where your growth plate sits. Okay? And then this is the shaft, letter B. And then again, here's the other epiphysis on the other end of the typical anatomy of a long bone. And we're showing you the anatomy of a long bone, but all bones have this similar anatomy, whether it's a flat bone or an irregular bone. It's easier to learn the anatomy on a long bone. So diaphysis, you would color in whatever color you choose, and then fill in this bar here with that same color. So if it's yellow, you would color the name yellow, and then color this in yellow. Okay? Go through and look at all your detailed anatomy here. So if you look at letter E, where is letter E? This says it's cancellous or spongy bone. So you would color in all this section, letter E. Notice the detail here in the drawing. This is letter E. And this line here differentiates the bone marrow or the medullary cavity of the long bone. So this is the cavity. And again, you're looking at a cutout section of the bone. So this would be a sagittal view of the bone, if you would, I believe. Let me see, what are we looking at? I'm sorry, this is an anterior view of the bone. So here's the full anatomy, and then they're cutting out a piece of this bone to show you what it looks like top to bottom. Okay, so this is an anterior view of a frontal cutout of the bone, so you can see here the detail. Okay, so if you notice as we move forward, the periosteum, letter D, is the outermost layer of bone. If you look here, this is the periosteum in here, and this whole outer surface needs to be colored in. So I'm helping you along with the detail, and if you look up here, here's more of letter D, the outer layer, and right here. Okay, and then if you differentiate periosteum, if you come in here, this is the compact bone. If you look here, letter F, compact bone should be letter F, compact bone. Here it is. So you are going to then color in compact bone. Okay, and then find what's letter J. This is the artery supply, the main artery supply of the bone. So if you come down here, nutrient arteries. And then letter J1 is the branches of the nutrient artery. So if you look here, here's a branch of the nutrient artery. This is the main line. Hopefully this makes a lot of sense. I'm spending some time talking you through it so that it's not as confusing. So hopefully you guys all view this demonstration. Moving forward, the next section we're going to do, I apologize, you may have to print this page. It turned out upside down. Bone development. This is new for you guys, so I want you to watch the video on bone development, which I'm going to put in this screencast. Bone development, and then endochondral ossification, periosteal bone. I know this is upside down and hard to read. Blood vessels of the bone, endochondral bone, diaphysis, epiphyseal plate, and epiphyseal line. So how bone grows, which is what I first introduced to you. Remember, this is in the womb, and then the stages of growth. And if you look at the bottom of the page, this is a little bit different. So note a difference between an epiphyseal line